I just finished this live edge entryway table, and my wife said, "Hey, we need a mirror in there." So this is the completed project. Started out, I told her pick out a mirror at the thrift shop. She picked this one out because she liked the beveled edges. And I'm not sure what she paid for it, but the most she paid is $55. By the way, please take a moment and subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out, and I do appreciate it. Well, these were cutoffs from a counter I made for a local contractor for a custom home. I just didn't have the heart to throw them away. It's walnut, and as you'll see later on, it ended up being really pretty walnut. The only concern I had was that end right there. It was pretty narrow, but I figured the wood was free. Let's go for it. I tried chipping it with a chisel, and it was just taking too long. So I said, okay, let me try this grinder. Well, the last time I used the grinder, I had turned the shroud around, and now I realize I should have turned it back around so it would throw all this dust the opposite direction instead of right on me. But at this point, I was angry and very dirty. I mean, literally, it was in my ears, all over my face. I had a scarf on, one of the, and a hat and goggles and a mask, and I was still filthy. I ended up having to take a shower when I was all done with this. I ran each of the boards through the jointer, both on the sides and the edges, to get them all square. And then I moved over to the thickness planer. You just got to run them all through, take little passes each time, get them all the exact same dimension. Next came the layout, and you can see right there where the end of the tape was, I had a pretty close edge. Now the 45s, I cut them on the chop saw, and I just kept running them back and forth between the table and the chop saw until I got them the exact same dimension. And the way I did that, I laid them up against each other and just kept cutting them till they were both the exact same. I was looking for a 30 by 24 opening. So I had one corner there that was very thin. If I could have chose the right size wood, I would have gone with thicker stuff, but didn't have that option. Here I'm adjusting the table to make the slot for the mirror. I wanted it to go in a ½ inch, or rather 5/8 inch from the side and a ½ inch deep. I figured that would give room for the mirror, which was a quarter, and a piece of cardboard, which is a quarter. And I ended up putting some little shims of cardboard to help hold it all together. But here I'm just running each of the edges, and again I marked them so that it wouldn't screw it up, because I have done that before. So use a scrap piece of wood like I did here and double check everything on the scrap before you cut it, and then cut your good pieces. Here I'm setting it at ½ inch and time to rip it. Now that was a screw up. I ended up cutting a slot that was visible that I had to fill with putty later on. Once I realized it, I just figured, okay, I can handle it. So again, use a little scrap of wood to double check all your dimensions, cut it, and that way you can you won't ruin your good piece of wood, which I kind of did right there, and ended up fixing it later. Here I laid everything out, and I used squares to make sure they were perfect and to mark them, because I was going to have to trim almost every corner from the excess that was left over. So I moved over to the bandsaw, looked for my pencil marks, and just kind of free-formed a cut so that it would look kind of natural, or as natural as I could get it. I hit it really good with the sander later so that it covered everything up, but I use super glue on all my corners. Anytime I have a miter, I'll use super glue. And you just glue it, spray the other side with the accelerator, hold it together for 10 seconds, 15 seconds, and it's good. Here I was using a brad nailer with, I think they were 1¼ brads, and almost every one I shot, no matter how straight I shot it, came popping out through the top. So, not sure what I did. If any of you know, was it because the wood was so hard? I don't know. But some of them worked. This one, neither of them came out, but a lot of them they did. That was my short corner right there. Anyway, once I got it all nailed together and glued, I sanded it, put some mineral spirits on it in case so I could see if I had any scratches. By the way, if you didn't subscribe already, please subscribe. It really helps me out. Okay, mineral spirits. It's good to put it on just to make sure you don't have any scratches. Here I got the mirror in and I was a happy man. This is my new go-to finish. It's Osmo. This is extra thin. I think it's number 1101. You just wipe it on, let it dry, and buff it. This stuff is beautiful, and it particularly looks good on live edge and on walnut. I mean, this stuff is really nice. It's expensive, but you don't use a whole lot. Once it dries, you let it dry, and then you buff it with a Scotch-Brite. Then I was ready to put it together and get it up on the wall. Put the mirror down, then a piece of cardboard. Then I bought little clips. They're like S-shaped clips, and I just spaced them around the edges, screwed them in, and it held it perfectly. I had the wire and the clips left over from the original mirror that we had bought at the thrift store, so I used those. Even used the screws that came with it. I ended up moving that down a little bit lower because it hung up above the mirror, so be aware where you put the hangers. And that's it. I gave it a nice cleaning so my wife wouldn't yell at me, and took it out and hung it up. There's my table and the mirror, and it was a done job. So again, I want to thank you all for watching this, and if you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. It helps me out a lot. Thank you very much. If you've got any questions or comments, please ask away, and I'll try to get to you as quick as I can. Thanks again.